If you bought a robot vacuum in the last 5 years, you probably believed the marketing. Set it and forget it. Hands-free cleaning, the future of home maintenance. But here is what the manufacturers did not tell you in those sleek commercials. Your robot vacuum was designed with a timer inside it. Not a clock, but something worse. A series of components engineered to fail at predictable intervals, each one tied to a replacement part that costs just enough to make you question whether you should buy a new unit entirely. This is not conspiracy. This is the business model. And today, we are breaking down exactly how it works. The first trap is the battery. Every robot vacuum runs on a lithium-ion battery pack, and every lithium-ion battery has a limited number of charge cycles before it starts losing capacity. That is just chemistry. But here is what the manufacturers figured out. If they design a proprietary battery with a unique connector and a non-standard voltage configuration, they control the replacement market entirely. A battery that costs $12 to manufacture in Shenzhen gets sold to you for $89 through the official store. Try to buy a third-party alternative and you void your warranty. Install a generic battery and the firmware might refuse to recognize it, throwing an error code that sends you right back to their website. The numbers tell the story. The average robot vacuum battery begins showing significant degradation around 18 months. That is not an accident. That is engineering. They know exactly how many cycles your battery will survive, and they design the charging system to hit that wall right around the time your warranty expires. You are left with a machine that runs for 15 minutes instead of 90, and your only options are a battery that costs half the price of a new unit or throwing the whole thing in a landfill. The second trap is the brush roll. If you have ever flipped over your robot vacuum after a few months of use, you have seen the carnage. Hair wrapped around the axle, bristles worn down to nubs, rubber fins torn and flapping. The manufacturers will tell you this is normal wear and tear, but look closer at the materials. The bristles are made from the cheapest plastic polymers available, designed to fray and shed within 90 days of regular use. The rubber extractors use a compound that hardens and cracks when exposed to dust and debris, which is literally the entire purpose of the machine. This is where the subscription model enters. Several major brands now offer replacement part subscriptions. For $30 a month, they will ship you new brushes, filters, and side sweepers on a schedule. They have turned a cleaning appliance into a recurring revenue stream. And if you try to skip a shipment or clean the parts yourself, the machine's sensors will detect decreased performance and start alerting you that maintenance is required. The app notifications become relentless. Your vacuum is telling you to buy more parts because the manufacturer programmed it to do exactly that. The third trap is invisible, and it might be the most insidious. It lives inside the software. Modern robot vacuums are connected devices. They receive firmware updates over your home Wi-Fi network, and those updates do not always make your machine better. We have documented cases where firmware updates have reduced battery performance on older models, disabled features that previously worked, and introduced new error codes that did not exist before. One major brand pushed an update in 2023 that caused thousands of units to display a wheel motor error. The fix? A new wheel motor assembly that costs $65, only available through official channels. This is planned obsolescence by software. The hardware works fine, the motors spin, the sensors detect, but the code tells the machine to stop cooperating. And because the firmware is proprietary and encrypted, you cannot roll back to an earlier version. You cannot diagnose the problem yourself. You are completely dependent on a company that profits from your machine failing. The fourth trap hides in the dustbin, specifically in the gaskets and seals that keep the suction system airtight. A robot vacuum needs negative pressure to pull dirt off your floor. That pressure requires a perfect seal between the dustbin and the chassis. The manufacturers know this, so they make the gaskets from a rubber compound that dries out and cracks within 2 years. The first sign is reduced suction. You clean the filter, empty the bin, and the vacuum still seems weak. You contact support, and they tell you the filter needs replacement. You buy a new filter for $35. The problem persists. Eventually, you discover the gasket, warped and cracked, breaking the seal that makes the whole system work. But here is the problem. You cannot buy just the gasket. You have to buy an entire dustbin assembly for $55. The gasket that costs pennies to manufacture is not sold separately. This is intentional. They are not solving your problem. They are extracting maximum value from your frustration. So what do? Do you keep feeding the machine? Do you throw it away and buy another one that will fail in exactly the same way? There is a third option, and it requires changing how you think about these devices entirely. Stop buying from brands that lock you into proprietary ecosystems. Look for robot vacuums that use standard 18,650 lithium cells, the same batteries used in laptops and power tools. Look for brands that publish repair guides and sell individual components. Look for machines with user-replaceable dustbins and standard HEPA filters that you can source from any industrial supplier. The names that come up repeatedly in repair communities are not the ones you see advertised during the Super Bowl. They are smaller brands, often from the same Chinese factories, but without the artificial restrictions built in. Some of the larger manufacturers have started offering modular designs after facing pressure from right-to-repair advocates. But check the fine print. If the battery requires a proprietary authentication chip, walk away. If the brush rolls only fit one specific model year, walk away. If the app requires an account and the vacuum cannot function offline, walk away. Here is the reality. The smart home industry has learned everything from the printer ink playbook. Sell the hardware at a reasonable margin, then recoup massive profits on consumables and replacement parts. Your robot vacuum is not a purchase. It is an entry fee into a subscription you never agreed to sign. The manufacturers have done the math. They know that once you invest $400 in a machine, you will spend another $200 over its lifetime on parts before you finally give up and buy the next generation model. And the cycle repeats. The only way to break this cycle is to stop rewarding it. Buy repairable. Buy modular. Buy from companies that respect your right to maintain what you own. The most expensive robot vacuum is the one you have to throw away after 2 years because a $3 gasket cracked and they refuse to sell you just the gasket. Stop buying the ecosystem. Start buying the tool.